Now, within this particular WhatsApp, what I have, this is an actual WhatsApp going through our company. And since we are all doing testing, chats, everything, all good. But apart from that, you can see here, there are plenty of conversations happening with clients. So there's a client called Austin, for example, and our team is connected with him. Austin Jones replied something. Then Shubh, there's a guy in our team who's working on this particular project, and so on. So they have a lot, many conversations happening with Austin over there. Same with another client from Turkey that's called Simge, and Simge is being handled by one of the project managers over here. So they have a lot conversations happening over here. Now, as a one of the team lead, one of the key person of this entire organization, I don't know what is happening over here on all of these chats, and I honestly don't have time to look at them. Right? How will I get to know if there are 50 clients that we're working upon? What is their status? If there is any client is not happy with the service, is the team facing any issues or maybe some sort of difficulties, right? One use case where we are having large big team and these kind of conversations happening over there. So I would want to have a quick summary of these conversations, what's happening, and is there any client having good impression, bad impression, have issues, or some team members not able to handle something. I should get things about it. The second part is, you all know, in a normal organization there are salespeople who work on various leads, right? And when they interact with those leads, there are two ways essentially. Number one is they say, we are maintaining all the records into a CRM, but while we communicate, we either call that lead or we either work on WhatsApp, we are doing chats, making follow ups, and all. And there is a very common problem that these WhatsApp chats or their calls, they don't log into their CRM, because chat is like, I say, hello, sir, good morning, how are you? As a follow up, right? That lead may not reply me, but I don't want to put it all the time like I said hello or good morning to that lead, and I'm putting a notes into WhatsApp, into the CRM. I can't update, or I can't expect the salesperson to keep on updating those things. At the same time, many salespeople, what they do, they say, we are not completing our call time. For example, in India specifically, every salesperson or many organizations have something called the call time target. For example, if you're into sales department, like how Byju's other things are used to work, they say you should talk to customers at least 3 hours every single day. That should be your talk time. Now, to escape that, what people say is, sir, we were busy with leads on WhatsApp. We couldn't call them. Or I reach out 100 leads today on WhatsApp, had some good conversation with them, and I couldn't make calls, enough calls. Maybe my call time is hardly 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and so on. In that case, if you have a team of 10, 20, 30 salespeople, there is no way you can figure out what's happening on their WhatsApps and how they are having conversations. Are they making any false promise? Is there any lead already to convert, but they are just pushing it because it can get included in the next month target, and so on? And those kind of things are completely invisible from the management, from the sales head, and so on. And companies are just losing revenue or putting themselves into unwanted risk. Now, how to have some good command on this, how to make that WhatsApp visible to you and see what's happening with that person and with the other guy. Now, with this kind of application, when we work with Timeline AI or with these kind of stuff, they give us an API which says, I can list all the chat history from your given WhatsApp groups or your given WhatsApp chats. And then if I get all the messages, I can put it into a GPT at every single day, and I'll tell it, can you summarize this conversation and highlight me if there are any pain points, how the salespeople or how that person is talking to this? Is this a potential lead? Or maybe are there any miscommitments done? What kind of pricing is being discussed, and so on? So what if my AI can get all the message history from each of these conversations on a daily basis and report me as a management person, like this person had 20 conversations today, and here is the gist of all these conversations, the key point over there. If that can be done, it can make life so easy for management and for the senior people. Now, for that purpose, we have an API call over here which says, get filtered chat history message only of the chat, right? So I can click on this, and here what I have to provide, only one single chat ID, and then it can fetch me all the messages of that particular chat. That too, see at the top it says filtered. Filtered means I can define, do I want to message only from me, or after a particular date, before a particular date, or after a particular message. So these kind of filters can be put in. So I can define, okay, give me messages from yesterday evening until today evening, right? Or maybe last 24 hours, and so on. So date and time can also be put in like this. Now, if we try to run this API, let's see, I just copy this whole thing. I can go back here. and I can start this entire stuff using an HTTP call. HTTP is again a kind of API call, right? Let's go with make a request. URL is this. Now in this entire URL, what do you see? There is a placeholder which is called chat ID. And this is the value which we have to put to get that specific chat ID messages. Now, apart from this, what it says, the method is called get method. So I can go here and I'll say method should be get. By default, it's get selected, all good. But if it is well, I'll have to change it to get. Then I need to put the authorization token and the authorization as a keyword because each of these things would require you to authorize yourself. So either I can go with authorization, go back in the header, I put authorization, API key. Here is my entire token. Copy this and I can go back over here, put the token as well. Rest everything is good. I don't want to put any body because this API does not require over here. See this. This API doesn't require to send any stuff. It says simple response samples, nothing else. In case of post messages, if you see, it says request sample. That means you have to send this data along with your API request because you're going to create something inside your system. But in this case, we are trying to fetch information from the system. So we don't need to send anything else apart from this chat ID. Now, along with this, we should always say parse response. Why? Because by default, all the data comes into a JSON structure. And if you don't parse it, it will not be readable. Let me keep it off and let me try to showcase you. And we'll have to get this chat ID. For now, what I can do is I can go to chats and I can manually extract a chat ID from the system where like I was chatting to it earlier. Let me see where my chat gone. Okay, over here. If I click on this, most of the time, these kind of fields like chat ID or maybe any sort of record ID or something, you can always find on the URL. So it says chat slash this particular ID. Copy from here, putting it into this URL and paste. And see, this URL became complete now. Right? There is no other placeholder. We have authorization. We got parse as no. If I click save and try to run it, by the way, there is a short command to run things. It's called control enter and your things will run. Now see here, what happened? Request was successfully done. 200 is a success status all the time. So if you get 200, it's all good. Now, apart from this, click on this data and see what happened. Since I do not say parse response, it gave me this kind of a cumbersome response, which is not readable honestly, right? What I can do is I can get into module one more time and I'll say parse response, which should parse automatically convert that JSON or whatever XML into a parsed format. And let's click save, control enter to run this. And this time, if you go and check data, see how well structured this data will come. It says there are plenty of messages from this chat. By default, it can list 50 message, but see here, status 200, data is okay, everything. And here are all the messages that's supposed to go. Text was this last message sent by this particular system to me with that image, if you remember. It says, how can I see today? And there is the image. Then here we have the whole log of data again. So text was only hey, then there was some other chat. So I was keep on talking to it, testing it, and so on. What about the pricing? So this is how I can get the sender name as well as the text of it, right? And it is all coming as a single array with multiple items because all of these are messages with multiple values or multiple meta field associated along with them. So let's close this one and see here. Messages got an array. Now try to understand the concept of array as well. I'm not sure if I briefed you earlier, but array is essentially a bundle or a packet. For example, it's a jar or it's a packet of multiple toffees, bucket or basket, whatever you say. And similar nature of items are putting here all together. Now imagine if this system would not return an array, then what it's supposed to do? It is going to give me 50 different output saying that here are your different messages. But they can't do it, right? I said one request, give me all the chat message. The most optimized ways, if there are multiple data which you're asking, and if your request is looking for multiple similar datas, you should put them all together into one bucket and then give it to user as a single array. So array can be passed as a cluster, as a grouped data. Now, as you see here, it got me 50 different messages from my entire conversation. So it is going to give me a single array with all of these items. And now since it is a single array, it got combined into one single output, one single bundle over here. It did not require to send 50 bundles because this doesn't make sense. Like when I say send one API request and get 50 responses and play around with those 50 data. So this is one of the most comprehensive, one of the most common method how data is being transmitted in bulk format, in a similar format into arrays. Now, how to work with this array? So in this case, I want to split all these 50 messages because I just want to get the from name, the person's name over here, sender name or recipient name, and the text. So I can figure out what's happening, what kind of conversation is going on between these two people. So I want this entire thing for each of these bundles, each of these messages, and they are all in the same format, right? So what I can do is I wanted to extract data first of all from this array, want to split them all 50 bundles into separate individual entities so I can work with the data. How that can be done? With the help of one of the good tool inside flow control that is called Iterator. So if I click on Iterator over here, associate this, see here with the logo also you can figure out there is one thing coming in and multiple things are getting out, right? This logo itself indicate this. So if I click on this, what it says, give me an array, and array can be splitted into multiple items. So if I click on this, where is my array? Array is inside data. And always remember, array starts and close with a box bracket or a square bracket. See here, the bracket is like this, the standing bracket open, standing bracket close. So arrays are always putting data into these two brackets, in between of these two brackets. So this is my message level array, which I mapped over here. I said click save, and let's try to run this, see what happens. This got me, as usual, one single bundle, the data, the message, and the whole array over here. What this did, if I come to this one, see, one single array came in, one input, and it got me total 50 outputs. All of these are separated altogether, total 50 bundles. So now if I run it this point onwards, it's going to process 50 times because each of these messages came out separately. Says, I want to inquire about automation service, recipient is gross tax, sender name is what happened, Manish, and so on. And so this is where the whole conversation got splitted into multiple actionable items, right? And same way, there are multiple functions about array as well. In case you want to get first element of array, last element of array, shuffle things, and so on, multiple functions can apply on arrays as well. But essentially, this is how we can do. Now, at the same time, if you want to combine data together, see, nothing related to this one, but just try to understand. For example, if my starting point or if my one of the middle point would have been that I have 50 information and I want to send the data to some other system, how can I combine it together inside make.com? Like how Timeline did, they combined it into an array, but that was done by Timeline AI code, their own operations functionality. But what if I have to do that? In that case, within this flow controller, there is something called array aggregator. So in case if you want to send this kind of a array structured data to some system, you can always aggregate data using this module. But depend upon your use case, depend upon your specific, let's say, scenario or particular module or particular software. But this facility is available over here. Now, since I got all these 50 messages, now I have to put them into GPT. And I say chat GPT over here, and I'll say OpenAI, and I can put create a completion. Right now, this completion is going to have a basic, let's say, prompt or some sort of a guidance. I'll say 4 mini is good. Not supported using. Oh, okay, that's fine. I can add a message, and I'll say here role as a user. The content is I can tell it I'm going to provide you multiple messages with a client conversation. Your role is to analyze and tell me the brief summary plus any summary in max 2 sentences and highlight any action or attention points for me as head of the organization. These are project and client related chats done by my team. A message goes here, or here are the messages, something like this, right? So this is what I said to it. This could have been improved, but I am just trying to put basic things over here. Now I have to map a few things over here. Essentially, the sender name, as I said, sender name, recipient name, timestamp, and the text of this entire message. Now, if I do this, you guys have to tell me, am I doing right, wrong, or how this is supposed to work? Will it work as we expected or not? So this is all good. I simply click save. I have this scenario. What any of you think, you can mute yourself and maybe in a crisp, quick manner, you should tell me, is this going to work? If not, why not? All depend upon understanding. What I said, I'm going to give it a conversation of multiple messages to this particular, see, you can read it. I'm going to give you or provide you multiple messages with a client conversation. Your role is to analyze and tell me the brief summary in max 2 sentences, highlight any attention points and so on. Project is this, and I mapped a couple of values from this iterator. So see, what I did over here is I asked it, I told it that I'm sending multiple messages. But what happened? These are not multiple. These are multiple bundles. It's going to run 50 times. So let's say it'll split them into 50 and all 50 will hit this particular GPT as individual messages. I did not combine this data together, right? And even I can't put the entire array over here because arrays cannot be mapped as a string as a text. So we have to extract data from array. And that's why we splitted all of these messages over here, but we did not combine them together into something sensible. And if I directly map data from here, it will have 50 conversations or 50 messages. This model is going to run 50 times. All individual separate will not make any conversational thread or multiple messages combined together. For that purpose, currently you just saw how I did array aggregation. Now, not every module or not every this kind of input box will accept array, right? Arrays are generally consumed by a predefined specific data structure. But now it is a normal input box, right? If I try to map array, let's say this entire message array over here, this will not even able to read this array because GPT is asking for normal text-based input. It says text content. It doesn't accept any array content. So I have to normalize this array into a normal text-based structure. For that purpose, I cannot use this array aggregator because output of this array aggregator will be an array format again. So what I have to use, I can go to tools and there is something magical available over here. If you go bottom, there's something called aggregators and it has multiple aggregators, something called numeric, table, and the text aggregator. So I'm going to put a text aggregator over there in middle of this entire automation between these two modules. And I'll try to aggregate the text from all these chats, whatever text I want. And then the text will have output also as a text format itself that can be consumed by this OpenAI. So let's click on text aggregator, add it in middle of these two. Now this will also ask me which module you want to aggregate things. I'll say from Iterator. What kind of text? I can go here. I can say sender name like this, and this can be mapped like over here. Then recipient name I can put over here. Then I can say text of this can go here, and I'll say date and time will go like this. See what this supposed to do from each of these messages. It is going to grab only these four information, even though there are multiple things available, chat ID and so things, right? Even I can put one more thing here. I can say either it's a chat name or chat ID. Chat ID should be good. Chat ID, because chat ID is unique for all of those conversations. And I'll tell you why I'm adding this later on. It's a scalable method. So chat ID, sender name, recipient name, text of the message, and date and time. And then I can choose advanced setting. Now over here, in advanced setting, it says, how do you want to separate each of these raw? Raw means the bundles coming out here, they're going to be like combined together. If I don't separate them, they'll all become a paragraph. So I say raw separator is going to be other, and I can put some sort of a dashes over here, right? Like this. Rest everything is good. I can click save. Now, if I disconnect this GPT module, I would like to showcase you how this whole thing looks like. See here, I got 50 outputs over here. Now what happened into this? It is extracting from each of these bundles in input. It is going to extract this information, chat ID, sender, recipient, text, and date and time. At the bottom of this, how the output look like? It says output is a text. It is not an array. It's a long string. It's a text. If I click on this, see what happened? This whole thing came up like this. So chat ID, sender, recipient, then again chat ID, sender, recipient, and so on. I should just have did one more enter over here, but essentially you get to see, right? All of these messages are coming into a one single thread. And what if I now give this whole data into GPT? GPT can easily analyze, like it's a long text, it's a whole conversation. It can do the whole good job. Let me put two enters over here, one enter at the top, so it can have some good line space. Click save. Let's try one more time. Now they should have given a better format. Perfect. See here. So chat ID, sender name, detail, and so on. Again, chat ID, sender name, details, and so on. And all of these messages are coming in. So this time the sender was Manish. Next message, sender was gross tax, recipient Manish. Then Manish sent a message, recipient is gross tax, and so on, right? So that's how I have this entire conversation into a textual format. So what it is, I combine this whole data from a text aggregator. Now if I can connect this module from OpenAI, click on this, and I can go bottom, scroll down. Here, I don't have to say here are the messages. In this case, I can simply map the text coming from this text aggregator. Let's click save. I can remove this token limit from here, save, and all good. Now if I run this whole thing, let's see what happens. We got all of the output over here. GPT processed it, and what GPT says, here is my summary. It says, Manish is seeking custom automation solution for his company's sales and marketing lead approach and had inquiry about pricing, the next steps, and so on. He asked about if the system can handle booking, trip, dinners, and so on, which fall outside of your core automation services. Action point: schedule a discovery call to nail down his lead generation requirement. Clarify service scope, because we that you focus on automation services rather than making travel or dinner reservation, like I tried over here, if you remember, right? Book me a dinner, book me something, and so on. Then it says assign lead to an automation specialist to draft the outline proposal, and so on. So this is what it does, or this is what it can do at the summary level, or it can look into my multiple chats. Let me do one thing. Let me try to grab one of the chat from actual client, and let's see what happens. So for example, okay, you all are you people here. If I go to Austin, this is a chat for Austin. Let's try to put chat ID from Austin over here. It may have conversation, may not, I'm not sure. Let's see. Okay, it got only one single output. Why so? The schedule, okay. Why? Because I think somebody, the client report, the schedule task board, and so on. So, okay, essentially, when I created this connection on this particular system timeline, it is taking only those messages which came after a particular point. Let's say, let's take Mohammed's chat, for example. Here's the chat ID. I can go here. It was a new latest chat. All messages would have been stored on timeline. So let's try this. He had total 23 messages exchanged. And here we see the client is looking to automate his sales follow process, specifically to remind 3 days before the deal closing to reduce stress, manual efforts. Gross text confirmed. They will build a standard automated workflow, then finalize, approve the remind message content, ensure this, confirm client satisfaction once the setup is live, right? So again, the whole idea is I could have said that like you are a supervisor of this entire team and ensure that client conversation not going wrong, or maybe something like that, right? I can say you are a supervisor of the development team and client satisfaction team. Your job is to keep a close watch on the conversations happening with the client, right? Something like this. And then over here, the whole prompt goes on and so on. Now, if I maybe change this chat track or something, it can give me a little more contextual output, right? I could go with, let's say, Abhishek's chat. There should be, okay, hardly a few messages. So in total, you got this idea. So now the first level is where people can interact, and this whole system can extract what conversation is happening between them and with our team. And we can do a quality control as well. Now, this thing can be reported to me or to any of the person at the end of the day, or anytime we schedule it. We can take care of, okay, how things are going on. This is return messages with Kishore. See here how it goes. So here you say summary: the client Kishore expressed general interest in automation services, outline data entry, but no specific thing. Attention point: have a team follow up to capture Kishore's exact pain point, the schedule a discovery call, and so on. Now, so far you saw me doing this. I just go and replace this chat ID all the time, right? Chat, and so on. What if I can list all the chats happening on my system, on my timeline, and then dynamically give this chat ID also? So in that case, it can give me the holistic response of all the conversations in one single email or in one single output. So let's try this. Let's try adding one more API over here. I go to this. I can say chat, and there's supposed to be something called chat history, only message, get details of chats. Okay, see here. Get full or filtered list of all chats in the workspace. So what it asks me, it can give me list of all the chats which are happening inside my particular organization, my workspace, and that too with provided filters. It can also have, let's say, chat group responsible page after, and so on, create after this date and so on. So I'll go here. I can copy this module, or I would say I clone this module, configure here, move this clock to this one, and here I can simply change, instead of messages, I want to go with this endpoint, which says integration API chats. It's a get call, all good. Authorization is here, and nothing else has to be mapped. If I run this one only, let's see how it works. It is going to give me a list of all the chats which are happening on my particular account, right? AI powered accessibility project and so on. And this has a chat ID given over here. Now this chat ID can be dynamically mapped into this one to get me all of the chats over there one by one in a sequential manner. So let's click on this, and here I go. Oh, That's another catch. All of these chats are also coming as an array. See, chats are into an array format. So I have to apply another iterator over here. Let's click on iterator, choose this one. Here I can add data and the chats and click save. So now this is going to give me all the chats in a individual mode. Then here I can go and I'll say I have to map the chat ID over here. Let's click save, open one more time. As soon as I do, when I map anything into an iterator, it can automatically fetch that array structure and try to split them into this kind of a sequence. So let's map only chat ID. Rest everything is good. So now I no longer have to map chat ID again and again manually to try to fetch out those messages. And I click save. Perfect. See, so the first module is to list all the chats. Let me name it. No, now it is going to handle for multiple clients and we have to even modify the prompts. So list messages for each chat. Then here, there's something called iterate messages, internet. No, that's fine. Iterate messages. Then here we are going to combine everything together, rename, and here I'll say combine messages, and finally process analysis, something like this, right? Now, in this case, how would I want to do, let's say if I provide the holistic output to ChatGPT for all the chats, all the messages combined together, and then I ask it, give me a summary report for today that what conversation happened with any of these clients. So I can say process and like within this entire prompt, I'll say you're a supervisor analyst and so on. I'm going to provide you multiple messages with not a client, with multiple client conversations. Your role is to analyze and tell me a brief summary in max 2 sentences and highlight any attention point for me of the for each of these client chats into separate paragraphs or sections, something like this, right? So now when it's going to return things, I said multiple client, and for each client, give me a separate paragraph or separate section of the analysis. Okay, now in this case, since I started combining things from here, and this iterator is going to give me multiple values for multiple clients, what should I say? I want to combine the data point from here, but at the same time, I wanted to keep the source module, like from which I wanted to aggregate everything, should be this iterator of chats, not the message iterator. Even though I'm putting everything into this kind of message, I'm trying to extract from each of the chat all of these messages, still everything should come together. Maybe if I have 100 clients, all 100 clients multiply maybe 10 message each, 1000 message will combine together and will be sent to this GPT, right? So nothing like where I say only process one client by client things. I want to put everything together. And how to do that? If I aggregate data from this source, even though I'm aggregating data over here, the values from here, but this is source. So as soon as all the chats get in, all their messages are iterated, everything will be combined together over here. Now, one more filter is required, which says created after, or I can go with something called get a full or filtered list of chats. Should it be created after or last message reply? Okay, fine. Let's do this way. So I'll say created after is one of my parameter and which can be created after this particular date and time. So I could go here and within this first module itself, I can put a question mark and provide a parameter, right? So any chat which is created after 25, I could say 09 and after 10th of the September. Let's try to take a look at this. Now let's see. I wanted to add one last output over here as let's say Outlook, for example, and it should get me a message on the Outlook. Create and send a message. Test connection is fine. Subject is chat summary report for what is today's date. So I can put a date over here. I can put like as a now, one of the date function over here. Now means it's always going to get me the latest today's date. So now, and then even I can format this date, format date. What I want in now is dd mmm dash yyyy. Then body content can come directly from GPT. So results goes here. To recipient can be admin at growstacks.com, and that's fine. Let's click save. Now if I run it, the whole show, let's see what happens. I hope this should work fine. See here, it got total 11 chats. All of their messages are combined together. And we had total 53 messages which are available to run through this holistic chat part. Gurman and so on, multiple people are there. Now GPT is going to process it and it will send me a full length email stating that what happened today in all of these conversations. Done, message is being sent. And here I got one of the emails, chat summary 14th of September. Wow, it got cumbersome. It got all together into one single stuff. Why so? Because GPT would have given an output like this. Okay, it was supposed to be splitted like this on the email itself, but somehow it got cumbersome like this. So chat ID, summary, and so on. But chat ID, summary, and so on. Now I can do one more thing. I can ask it to give me output into a well formatted HTML. So here I go, and I know since my uh, email can accept things in HTML, I can give it a system or developer instruction, format the final output into a well designed HTML that I want to send via email, right? Something like this. Let's click OK. Over here, result should be fine itself. Now click on advanced setting. I should say body content type should be HTML. Click save, and let's run it one more time. This time the email should not look this kind of a cumbersome format, but it should have been a little more better than this. Perfect. Email is being sent. Done. See here. This is how beautifully we can have the whole structure coming out. Client, conversation summary, and action points. There's a client ID. It was actually chat ID. I could have put in this chat name or something. Customer is a new to automation, seeking introduction to automation and so on. Prepare an introductory document, offer scheduled things and so on. Krishna is someone. Harshbir is someone who interacted with this, right? Then there is a client chat or something. Then there is something else. Then Peter is there. Ben is there. So these are actually groups, which is something called Benoit is one of the client. Peter is one of the client. So Ben has question about migrating a workflow step to instantly passing data fields and scheduling the call on Monday. Prepare details on data mapping, confirm migration. So without me getting into the system, I can easily fetch the whole conversation, the specific points, and all depend upon your prompt, right? I just gave some random prompt or basic prompt over here, but in case if you refine this whole prompt, it can go to absolutely next level. It can highlight you any sort of risk, any sort of compliances, miscommitment, any good opportunities that are coming out. Anything can be taken out from this whole conversation history. But in total, what I tried to showcase you is this kind of a functionality which any business owner would want to or would love to have, and then they want, okay, can I see what's happening on people's WhatsApp, or can I get a summary of everything happening on my groups, right? So this is what it is